This is Amanda Ambles, and I'm ambling again, and I want to talk about what's in my heart and on my mind. And one of the things I touched on recently was the fact that several of my friends are leaving social media. Now, I'm sure a lot of that is to do with overwhelm. It's probably they want a bit of peace in their life. They probably don't want to be beholden to putting replies all the time or being on that treadmill of, as they call it, creating content all the time, especially on YouTube. But yeah, I understand it because on platforms like Facebook, there seems to be more adverts than actually connecting with other people. So I understand that we can get bombarded and overwhelmed with these different platforms. And I myself have little breaks, like it's been a few weeks really since I've made a video of myself walking and talking, rambling and ambling. But I think it's really, really important that we all get a balance in our life, however that balance is. I think we live in a very loud culture that demands a lot of us constantly. We want to distract ourselves. We're kind of tempted to distract ourselves from what's really going on. And if you look at people like Freud, if you look at many, many thinkers and people who came up with some great ideas, Nikola Tesla, Freud, and many, many artists, poets, a lot of them had to delve deep within. They say the kingdom of heaven is within. So it is nice if the external world can also reflect that. I find walking in nature, walking in these woods, it really helps me get clarity, understand what's going on in my own head and my thought processes. So recently I've had to cut out some people from my life, and that's okay. We all have to do that sometimes. I guess it's nature, human nature. And there seems to be this theme that goes on in my life where I am attacked. I am actually emotionally attacked. And some of you might say, oh yeah, well that's a trauma response, or it's to do with you. However, I've reached a point in my life where I actually respect myself enough to not actually tolerate that. And if I'm giving and it's unbalanced, I don't think that's fair. So I follow the advice of Dion Fortune. Some of you may or may not know that I channel wisdom at her grave. I know many people channel from other galaxies or whoever. I know a friend of mine is on a Ramtha retreat at the moment. There's a lady who channels Ramtha, who is an enlightened being. It's all very interesting stuff. But I do believe that we're all enlightened to an extent, but it's just how much we tap into that. So Dion Fortune, she said that relationships, if you enter into a relationship, it should be symbiotic. So for instance, with myself and Aurora, I give her food and walks and love, and I receive endless love and affection from her. So I guess it's like a two-way street, isn't it? But it's the same with people in our lives. If it's the one person always giving and the other one not appreciating, then there's an imbalance. And like I said, with social media, it's all about balance, isn't it? And I actually have an ascendant which is in Libra. So that means that a lot of things in my mind are all to do with fairness and balance. And whether that's to do with issues or things going on in my own personal life or in the world at large, I'm very much about standing for justice in different ways. So as my late grandfather George said, or Giorgio in Greek, he would say that moderation in all things, and my mum often quotes him. So yes, I would agree to that to an extent, but also there's the flip side of that, and it's like those people who totally focus on one thing, they get brilliant at it. So I'll give, for example, Jenny Bliss, who lives here in Glastonbury. She is a virtuoso on many instruments, but she has totally focused on her musical development, and she's quite extraordinary actually. And often when campaigners are campaigning, they become obsessed and actually embroiled in the actual issues and the latest things going on in the campaign. So that can also be a way that we focus. So very sharp focus can be a great thing too. And I'm kind of thinking, there was somebody came in the shop this week. I have so many incredible conversations in that clothes shop that I work in. I work in a small clothes shop on Glastonbury High Street, and you would not believe the conversations that I have in that shop. In fact, I think I'm going to start writing down some of them, because a lot of them are really profound. So I met somebody this week, and she'd had a very traumatic childhood. Obviously I wouldn't name names or anything like that. And she seemed to be an expert in every area. And I tend to have a tendency to be a bit like that. And I've been reflecting and thinking, well, if you're trying to prove that you're an expert in everything, then perhaps there's some kind of trauma response in that. You're trying to prove that you're good in every way, because maybe as a child you were not encouraged to be good at everything or given that confidence. So maybe you've had to parent yourself in later years and gain that confidence somehow. But I've been thinking recently, to get real results, I think you do have to hone in on one thing. And I think if you're too scattered, and I think often I can be energetically very scattered, that you don't necessarily achieve the one thing. So I know this sounds a bit daft, but recently I've been returning to doodling. Now, doodling is something that we naturally do as children, and doodling is really fun. And someone like Keith Haring, he really took doodling to the nth degree, and I love his work. In fact, I've got one of his originals, and I really do want to explore this world of doodling. I was even looking up the world record for the largest doodle in the world, and I think it was by an Italian artist. I think his name is Far, and I reckon I could do a bigger doodle than him, you know. Wouldn't it be amazing to break the Guinness World of Records? Anyway, it's good to have ideas and ambitions, isn't it? Not all who amble are lost.